You cannot let your wife control her total income. That is not a marriage, Daktari. That's not a marriage.
So
that's just cohabitation.
So if a woman is not willing to surrender her income to a man,
that's not
she
a wife.
She's not a wife.
She's not a wife. And also you are disadvantaged. Look at it this way.
Is this to say that it's not wrong for a woman to marry another woman?
Well, you see, this is marriage in quotes. You have to put marriage in quotes. It is in quotes. The marriage you are talking about and the marriage I'm talking about
I understand.
If it is done in the cultural context, in a purely cultural context, it is admissible.
Hey, well, now, our guest for this episode is a friend of the show, second time coming in, the author of one of the most thought-provoking book by a Kenyan author inaitwa New Confident Africa, Mbira Rimi. And this episode, tutaanza na disclaimer, which is very important. If you don't carry the spirit of learning and relearning and unlearning, utatukasirikia bure. If you cannot approach with an open mind, again, utatukasirikia bure. But if you trust yourself to explore, and uzuri wa Mbira Rimi, the information he shares is verifiable. Zingine anaweza kuambia kitu, you get shocked, and then quick search, unaangalia for all verifiable sources, unapata iko hivyo. So the purpose of this conversation, there are a few topics tunataka explore. Tutaangalia capitalism, tutaangalia population control, using food as medicine. Now, one of the most interesting areas I believe we're going to explore is the single parent pandemic and African concept of time. But before we start the conversation, before we dive in, I'd like first of all to get something out of the way. It's an idea Mbira Rimi told me, and I have confirmed with my friend from the Masai community.
Yes.
In our last conversation, tukipiga tu story yetu outside the podcast setting, you told me that your submission was why you cannot see a differently abled Masai, a disabled Masai, right? And it was very shocking for me.
To you?
Yes. So I called the Masai najua, the closest Masai in my circle, anaitwa Leshaz. Akaniambia inaitwa Aosh Empiding, right? That you cannot see a Masai, a disabled Masai, because of what happens.
Yeah.
So ndio nisikuwe na kierere. Please, let's get that out of the way.
Okay.
Why can't you see a differently abled Masai?
Okay, thank you so much for having me a second time on your show. Thank you so much. It's a big honor. The concept of what you're talking about here, or we just mentioned about the Masai, there is something they call right to live.
The right to live.
The right to live.
Yes.
Is your life viable? Are you viable? Are you a viable human being? So what happens is that because of the environment is very hostile. Because there are no birds, they keep on moving from place to place. The environment is hostile. Sometimes there's scarcity of food. They find that when a child is born differently able with a disability, let's say, point blank, from their perspective, from their cultural perspective, this person is actually an obstacle. He is a threat to the survival of the greater family. So his survival will be a threat to the existence of the larger family. So in the context of the survival of the family, it is actually better to surrender this other differently abled child so that other members of the community can thrive. Because if a child cannot walk, it means that 2 or 3 boys will be helping him to move around. And these boys are actually needed to be looking after animals. So we are going to lose 3 boys or 4 boys and their mother to look after one differently abled child. So from a purely economic perspective, it is actually very expensive to raise a differently abled child in a hostile environment. So bottom line is, the survival of this child is a threat to the survival of other members of the family. He's going to take a disproportionate amount of resources from the family. And yet, there's very little chance of him adding to any value to the family. Okay. So they have a system of they don't just chop him up. There's a way. There's a ceremonial way where they tell him, look, you have joined us, we are very happy, but unfortunately, the environment does not favor your survival. So we are going to say goodbye and hope you come back a better person. Yeah.
I bet
It's done by the midwives. They will take him somewhere,
Okay.
and they maybe close his noses, and that's the end of the story. Yeah, that's how it is done. Yeah, but it actually makes a lot of economic sense.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
when you look at it from a purely economic perspective, and looking at the environment, the topography, or where the Masais live, they may not have an alternative.
Thank you. And thank you for that explanation. First of all, that explanation is all in context. This is in no reference to anyone who is alive, who is differently abled. Kila kitu hapa is in context. It's culture. You can verify. This conversation again pivots to vaccination. And you said that in the context of survival for the fittest, there are certain vaccinations that are irrelevant. Certain that are irrelevant. I'm being careful with my words here. But I'm also open-minded. So now, vaccinations that are irrelevant, in that God, in his wisdom, when he created the human being, in his intelligence, he created the human being in such a way that if he survives past 5 years without any form of intervention, there's possibility that he may never suffer any form of illnesses whatsoever. Is that an accurate capturing of what the conversation pivoted to?
Well, I'm speaking here as a researcher of culture. So I'm not speaking as a medical specialist.
Understood.
Because there are people who have been to school, they have read a lot of books, they have done research, and they're better placed to talk about vaccination. But I'm saying that in the context of the human, the way the human, how he comes to the world, how he goes through the stages until adulthood. Nature has a way of doing something like we call culling or cooling, where the people who have little chance of survival in the future, either because of their low immunity or other disabilities, are removed silently by nature. So what nature does, from the African perspective, there are some childhood diseases, like measles. These diseases are not just, they are not random. They don't just happen. It's nature's way of removing the weaklings from society, so that if you survive measles and you survive one or two other childhood diseases and you hit 5 years, your chances of ever falling sick again are vastly reduced. In fact, you are going to survive. You'll die of old age unless you die from injuries or something like that. But Africans also practiced a form of vaccination. Women, mothers, when they had children, they would actually chew food in their mouths and feed this chew to their babies. What this woman is doing actually is that she's passing on all the antibodies of all the diseases that she has ever suffered from to the child. Because if the lady had suffered from malaria and she chews a banana and feeds it to the child is actually gets antibodies for malaria. So that was a very advanced form of vaccination, because this mother is immunizing her child against common disease or any disease that she has suffered in the past, whatever it was. So the concept of immunizing or strengthening a body's immune system to withstand infections is as old as man. But what we are talking about is the chemical, the modern way of introducing dangerous chemicals into the ecosystem, in the body of a child who is not even strong enough to synthesize these foreign materials that have been introduced into their body. And in fact, a lot of kids today, and I'm again talking as a layman, is that more children are dying from vaccination than those who die from the actual diseases that they were being vaccinated from. What I'm saying is that more children today can die from being vaccinated against measles than those who actually die from measles itself. So on balance, the value is limited. And I can give you some very recent research done by eminent scientists. Even in America, they are not questioning the validity of some of these vaccinations. In fact, as recently as last week, J.F. Kennedy, the Minister of Health, Human Services in the US, has ordered a revision of all childhood vaccines in America because more than 50% of the vaccines which are being given are useless. They actually are danger to the life of a child. So we should not just take vaccine is good and non-vaccination is bad. No. The environment also has a way of vaccinating children. Okay. And one of the ways we did in Africa, like I just explained, is women transferring antibodies to their young babies through food.
And breastfeeding.
And breastfeeding.
Yes.
But even food, they chew food, they would chew a banana or something else and feed it to the child.
So if you're chewing food,
yes,
you just have
because the antibodies already exist in your saliva. You are now passing those antibodies to your child.
And it also requires top-level skill to stop right before you finish all the juice for the children.
You don't swallow. You just make it soft for the baby to process. So that's how it used to be done. Let me shock you. When the slaves went to the first African were enslaved in the United States of America, it is African slaves who taught the white settlers the theory of vaccination. Because in Nigeria and other West African countries, what Africans used to do was that if there was an outbreak of smallpox, they would get pus from an infected person, and then they would scratch the healthy people and infect them with that pus. And that way, the uninfected would build immunity before the actual outbreak breaks out. And it actually used to work effectively. So when the slaves taught, it is the slaves, and you can verify this. You can verify this. I can even give you the names. The first people to make vaccination from a chemical substance were the white people, but they learned the principle and theory of vaccination from African slaves, captured enslaved Africans. The concept of vaccinating was already established in a natural way in Africa. So I'm not saying that vaccination is bad. Vaccination is good. But this wholesale commercial vaccination where a child below 1 year is receiving 20, 30 injections, I think that's wrong.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It's harmful. It's dangerous.
Okay.
Yeah.
Solid
and
submission.
I told you again, in fact, in America again, they said last week that more kids died from being vaccinated against measles. There was an outbreak in the US about 2 or 3 weeks ago, a measles outbreak. And more children died from being vaccinated against measles than those who died from the measles itself. I rest my case.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Solid submission. So now, we are tumeenda kwa children.
Yeah.
Now, I'd like, it's very interesting that the concept of resources.
Yeah.
On our platform, we are big on understanding how the finance system works, how money as a concept works. Yeah. And I've recently discovered that I'm not actually that much of a big fan of money. I am passionate about economics. Okay? So now we come to resources. And this book has tied the concept of scarce resources to the breakage of families, moral decay, and the gender wars that we have today. So my first submission before we go into the single parent pandemic is I've made an observation that people have not given up on the concept of marriage, but we are going at it the wrong way. This is what I mean. At a certain point in civilization, boys and girls have been raised as equals, right? Yeah. Boys have been taught that, girls have been taught that what a man can do, a woman can do better. And I believe this reinforces the element of maybe looking at women as a weaker gender, which is not the case, and it's misleading. And the strengths in the previous establishments have become, are now viewed as weaknesses. So marriage in itself, first of all, it is my submission that it's almost impossible to work as a construct, as the construct it was before, with the modern era, whereby people are competing to be the same more than to complement each other on their strengths and weaknesses.
We have actually asked the question and answered it.
Oh, really?
Because, yes, because you have just said that instead of complementing, there's competition.
Okay.
Okay, marriage from an African position, because that's our center of gravity, African position.
Yes.
That's our center of gravity. Marriage from the African position is not a union between a man and a woman. It is a union between two families, two clans, and even two communities. That is actually how it works in African societies. And this is why marriage was not love-based. It was interest-based.
I've almost gotten in trouble for that.
It was not love-based.
Please explain the difference between interest-based and love-based.
Love-based is where a man or the girl is allowed to look for his future wife on his own without any input from members of his family. You feel that I love this girl, she can be good for me, or the girl feels I love this boy, he can make me a good husband without the input of anybody else. That is love-based, which is very dangerous. Actually, it has led us to a very dangerous slippery path. When it comes to interest-based,
yes.
Interest-based is where families sit down, a man and two parents, a man and his wife, they sit down with another man and their wife, and they see how they can link up their families through joining their two children. And this could even be done without the partners being aware. What I'm saying is, me and my wife can sit down with you and your wife because you have a son and we have a daughter, and we agree, because now we have a family with common interest or common vision, and we would want to come closer. The only thing that can tie us to bring us closer and tie us together is the union of our children. So African marriages were interest-based.
It doesn't matter what the couple thinks.
It does not matter because the boy believes that the father can only act in his best vested interests, and the girl believes that her parents can only act in her best vested interests. So she cannot question them. If you think that somebody is acting in your best vested interests, you'll be happy. You'll be happy, and also it saves a lot of emotional pain. Going through courtship and all those things is heartbreaking. Sometimes it's it can even bring issues of nervous breakdown, tension, depression, suicide. You bypass all those risk stages. You just move from one stage into marriage. And then also, there was a lot of support. There was a lot of support for the young couple. They were actually treated as children. And they were still brought, the community and the family still continue to support this young couple until they can now be able to stand on their 2 feet. So that is the interest-based marriage in African societies.
So the challenge with this becomes if the couple that are being set up for the arranged marriage sort of a system, if they cannot get along for whatever reason, right? It's a disaster from the onset. It's dead on arrival.
I would not say that, because if you look at the statistics we have from societies, even today, we still have communities that practice that kind of arrangement. The breakup from arranged marriages is almost zero. And the breakup from love-based marriages is approaching 40%. So on balance, even today, we can safely say that an arranged marriage has very high chance of survival than a love-based marriage, on the empirical evidence we have.
What are the chances of success of an arranged marriage in the current setup as we have it, especially for people who have not experienced that concept yet?
One of the challenges we have with the modern society is that the growing up period of both men and women has been extended.
The growing up period.
The maturity period.
What I'm
saying is, in your grandfather's time or my grandfather's time, an 18-year-old boy was already a responsible man. Today, an 18-year-old boy is still in high school. He's actually a student in high school. He cannot even feed himself. But in my grandfather's time, an 18-year-old man could go to war and defend the community. He was already a soldier. By the time a boy was 24, 25, he is a father of 1 or 2. Today, a man of 25 is still at the university. He's still actually a student, depending on his father. for food and for clothing, which is something very inimical to the nature of man. So you find that now we have a conflict between the natural progression of an individual through the stages of life and the education system, because the education system is taking a very huge chunk, a very big chunk of your life as a young adult. I don't know whether I'm following myself clearly.
I'm following.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that, so with arranged marriages, it occurs at an earlier age. It occurs at an earlier age because there is no high school, there is no university, there is none of those things. And so the maturity process of an arranged marriage is actually shorter. So with the modern man, at 28 years, it is almost impossible for a man, your father, to get you a wife. You are already a mzee. You're already an old man. It is not possible for your father to get you a wife. You already outgrown that stage. So that's the conflict we have. That's a conflict. The asymmetry we have developed. The education system has really disrupted the flow of growth of both men and women.
By the time a person was 18, they were already a responsible man.
Exactly.
The entry of the education system changes
this.
And
it stretches your childhood into your 20s. Because
so now
a 24-year-old man is still a child anyway by today's standards. Because if you are getting food from your dad, he's giving you money to go to school at 24, 25. It doesn't matter whether you are doing masters at the university. You are still a student. You are a child, basically.
So does this mean that if you picked a male child in 1600, an 18-year-old in 1600,
even early this century, even 1920s.
Okay, 1920, an 18-year-old man in 1920, and a high school graduate in 2025, right?
Yeah.
Put them hand in hand.
Yeah.
One has gone through the education system. One has grown up in the African traditional society. What's the difference in terms of knowledge? In terms of, now I'm looking at the value of the education system that we have.
Let's say that this person who has been brought up in the traditional manner will be more self-aware. He will be more he will know himself, his responsibilities to society, the expectation. His mind will already be made up of the path he wants to follow as he matures. But the education system has disrupted this. And you see, I'm very sorry. I'm not saying that modern education does not have value. But it only serves, in fact, it serves you for a very short period of time, because you go to college, you work as a teacher or as a doctor. At 60 years, the system has no further use for you, because you are retired and you are thrown out of the system as deadweight. Because the moment you hit 60, it doesn't matter what you are deadweight to the capitalist system, and you have to be discarded. But the person who has been brought up in the traditional way can find his way all the way up to old age, because he has been given the compass, the life compass, the major point of his existence, the purpose of his existence is already established in his mind. He is following a path. He's following a path unwaveringly. And that's why you find that even today, people who have not been to school, who have not gone to school, are more patriotic. They love their countries more, because they are more aware of what a country means to them or to an individual. But an educated person can sit down with a foreigner and sell his country for 10,000 shillings.
Whoa. So now, how has the man changed in the family setup? Because I believe this ties to the single parent segment we would like to cover. The 18-year-old man who's responsible versus the stretched child.
It's a stretched childhood.
The person from the stretched childhood system, right? How does that change in terms of its effect on marriage as an institution specifically, and how it ties to contributing to the single parent household? This is for the men.
These things are very, it is not one thing that contributed. It is not one thing. It's so many. It's education, the capitalist system, colonialism, religion. All of them act to create these flags.
Education,
But
capitalist
what you have
system.
to understand is that pre-colonial Africa was a very wealthy, pre-colonial Africa, pre-colonial, before the settlement of the whites in this country. In fact, they came because of the wealth. And let me tell you, women also are, some women are very wealthy. Women, some people believe that women did not have any role to play in the economies of African societies. That is not true. We had women traders. We had women traders who used to trade in tech, in foodstuffs, in Bake, and some of them would take Bake as far as Masai land, as far as Masai, in all communities, and some of them could become so wealthy that they could actually even marry other women. We have that concept of wealthy women marrying women, and then the children who are born by these married women belong to her as a man. It's a concept that is
women who married other women.
Yeah, but not in a lesbian sense. We are talking about a woman who is so wealthy, who has so many resources, and she wants to establish her own name. So what they would do, they would get real women and marry them like a man, and then she would have somebody bear children with these women. The children would belong to her. It happened in Kikuyu land, in Masai land, in Kambaland. I don't know about Luos, but in Kikuyu land is a concept that was fairly established.
And we want to separate this from lesbianism.
It has nothing. In fact, it has nothing to do with that. Even that would be they would not even understand what we're talking about if you brought in the concept of lesbianism, because it is not sexual. It is an economic setup where this woman has become wealthy and she does not want to share her wealth with her siblings. So she creates her own center. And the only way she can do this is by creating a line. So although not biologically hers, because she does not have the capacity to breed with another woman, but she can have somebody, a man, breed with this woman, and the kids will belong to her in every sense of the word.
In which case, minus lesbianism, is this to say that it's not wrong for a woman to marry another woman?
See, this is marriage in quotes. You have to put marriage in quotes. It is in quotes. The marriage you are talking about and the marriage I'm talking about
I understand.
If it is done in the cultural context, in a purely cultural context, it is admissible.
But there was no case of a man marrying another man.
That, in fact, in most African cultures, if a man made overtures to you, any sexual overture, in African culture, you are supposed to kill that person immediately. You are supposed to get your sword and chop him.
That we can also...
That's verifiable in many communities.
Because of why?
It was so vulgar and so repugnant to the concept of maleness and community. It was the most satanic thing somebody could do to a man. Yes. And such a man was not allowed to live. So that idea can spread further. The only way is to terminate this man.
But for the context of marriage in quotes, it was allowed for women.
For women, yes. Because it is actually not sexual.
Okay. In which case, this woman marries another woman because she has resources.
She has resources.
So this qualifies, if we were to qualify who a husband is, in context, it means a husband is he who has resources.
Now, the problem we have two challenges here. Colonialism came and all these existing structures were taken and thrown in the dustbin. Colonialism introduced capitalism. Capitalism is a very exploitative system. It is inhuman. It actually breaks families. It breaks families because you find men have been taken to distant places to work and they live in dormitory towns, and the women have been left in very in the rural areas, basically begging for food because even the land has been taken by the colonialists. So this is now bred what we have today, because capitalism as a concept is not geared towards promoting human beings in their totality. It is a system of exploiting the many by the few. It transfers resources from the many to a very small group of people. That's actually how colonialism operates. So after these structures, African structures were destroyed by capitalism, we are now trying to build something on quicksand. We are actually still experimenting. What we are talking about today about marriage is still experimental. It is not marriage in the true sense of the word. It is not marriage in the true sense of the word.
It has negated from the original intention.
Yeah, it is a negation of the concept of marriage.
Okay. Another thing you explained
is a negation.
Another thing you explained.
And you see, everybody is suffering in today's marriage. The men are suffering. The women are suffering. Children are suffering. So another doctor was telling me that they are now getting kids as little as 10 years suffering from depression, something which is totally unknown. Because how can a child suffer from depression? It is not possible. But you see now, modern lifestyles have put so much stress on the family that a 10-year-old becomes depressed. That's how bad things are.
Now, in chapter 4, there are very interesting, strong statements. One of them is, and I believe it fits in this context, it is well documented that highly successful women are very poor at getting soulmates, right? And it goes ahead to this leads to militant feminists to falsely claim that men are generally afraid of successful women. They feel intimidated by her intelligence or wealth, that men are more comfortable with the average woman who they can manipulate and control. But then again, you go further and explain that men perceive women high achievers as competitors for scarce resources. Right? Yeah. So first of all, this is a factor that people do not
properly process.
Yeah. So if there was a time that women were such high achievers that they would marry women, first of all, this goes to, there's a red pill community. I sample ideas from all sectors. Red pill communities believe that if you're a woman, gets more resources than a man, they don't need a man. Yeah. Is it natural?
It is natural. You see, it is not really natural, but it's a program. Human beings are programmable, you know. When men are working, like you are now making money, you are making money so that you can feed, you can attract a mate. I also work to attract a mate. Now, what happens is that when men are now competing for women for the same resources, the woman loses her femininity from a man's deepest instincts. This woman, however beautiful she is no longer a woman because she's a competitor. She's like a man in a skirt. So it is not possible for you to relate to her as a woman the way you relate to her. I mean, the way a man is conditioned to relate to a woman is not the way you respond to a woman of resources, because as a competitor, her femininity is obscured by her success. What I'm saying is, if you have a man and a woman working together, let's say you are hunting for the same promotion. So when you are struggling or when you are canvassing for this position, would you have time to tell this woman she's beautiful or she's nice or whatever? She's a competitor. In fact, she's a threat. She's a threat to your interests.
Does that
instinctively?
Does that have anything to do with her femininity or your confidence as a man?
No. It is not confidence. You see now, during this competition, a man will not. The instincts of femininity are covered. She just becomes another person. She's no longer a woman. So it is not that you are afraid of her. It's just that she is not a woman per se from a man's instincts. She's like another man. I don't know whether I'm getting myself clear.
I'm following.
She's like another man.
Yes,
it's just like having another man. Yes, because her drive And actually, it is some of the things could be scientific. In the US, high achieving women are actually developing male characteristics. They're losing hair. They're developing, male pattern baldness. Some are growing beards because the intensity of work, the intensity of making decisions at that high level suppress her feminine hormones, and she starts making more male, and she becomes a quasi male. Even her dressing changes. She won't. Yes.
Is this to mean that certain
and they're also
things...
getting heart attacks? Heart attacks is not a woman's disease, but women high achievers are suddenly getting heart attacks. Like a man.
So men should keep heart attacks. Like I'm thinking about
it's a characteristic that is unique to men, but now it is spreading to a woman. So what I'm trying to say is that this woman with these characteristics is not feminine. Is not feminine. It is her femininity is obscured.
Okay. So does this mean that there's a certain level of access to resources that a woman cannot access and still maintain her femininity?
I don't personally, or let's say on average, yes. I'm not saying that it cannot happen, or it is, but statistically it is low.
Then what is the ideal? What is the ideal balance from a man and a woman as far as resources are concerned? Because I've seen the pattern. Honestly, I've seen the pattern. Even doing my own sampling of people who have, let's say, men men who lose their jobs and they are in a marriage setting or in a relationship setting, the outcome is almost the same. And men who with women who get access to more resources than they do, and the marriage breaks.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Where is the common ground whereby resources will not cause the breakage of a family?
The problem, okay, according from my position, the way I've been or I've done research.
Yes.
Like in the US today, 80% of all divorces are being triggered by women. 80% of all divorces in the US. 80% all divorcing couple among the divorcing couples. 80% of all divorces is the woman who sues for divorce. It is women who are actually divorcing men, not the other way around. Because the moment a woman hits a certain point of security, she has social security, she has adult kids, she feels that this man is now a baggage, is dead weight. For African, there are two ways about doing about this. One, the man, and I've said this in my book,
yes,
must always have, because my argument is that women wealth, a married woman, a woman's wealth is not her wealth. It is family income. It is actually family income. Look at it this way. If I'm married to a woman and she's looking after her goat, my goat, or my tea, does it become her coffee because she's the one who looks after the shamba? Does it become her coffee? No. If she's looking after my cattle, like a Masai man, if the woman is looking after those goats, do they become her goat by virtue of the fact that she's looking after them? So the dynamics of marriage mean that if a woman is married, then her income is actually family income.
Just and the same way a man's income is family income.
Just like a man's income is family income. So a woman's income is, and it should be managed as family income. And this is why men are getting it wrong. Because if we are not going to, if it's not going to be treated as family income, then that's not marriage. In fact, the earlier you get out of it, the better for you. Don't wait to age in a marriage that will not survive. It is family income. So if it is managed as family income, those risks are more or less eliminated.
Put this in context.
Yeah.
Okay. Two people are married. Yeah. They are both working, right? So does this mean that everyone should declare their salaries and pull it as family income?
No, okay, I'll be controversial here. You see, men, I'll be controversial here. Men control access to marriage throughout the world. It's the men who control access to marriage. It doesn't matter who a woman is, but she can never tell a man to marry her.
But it is women who control access to divorce.
Women control access to sex before they are married. She can give herself to who she wants. But men hold the key to marriage. And if you hold the key to marriage, to forestall a situation where she will now have the keys to divorce, you have to take control of her resources.
How is that different from manipulation?
That is not manipulation. That's not manipulation.
How so?
It is not manipulation. It is because if she's joining your household as a wife, and you are the one, why has nature given you access to marriage? Because it is you who has the spiritual direction of the way you want your family to thrive. Nobody else has that vision. You are the vision carrier for your family. So if you are the vision carrier for your family, and the wife is not meshing into that vision, then she's an obstacle. She's a very true value anyway.
So any woman,
and I've seen cases, we have documented cases, and we have talked to women. What some men do is that the woman surrenders. Let's say she's a teacher. She surrenders a chunk of her money to the husband. It may sound, but that's the best way to do it. She surrenders 50% of her income to you every month for you to invest in the family, in the interest of the family. Then she spends her income, her part of her allowance the way she wants. But you cannot let your wife control her total income. That is not a marriage, Daktari. That's not a marriage.
So
that's just cohabitation.
So if a woman is not willing to surrender her income to a man,
that's not a wife.
She's not a wife.
She's not a wife. And also you are disadvantaged. Look at it this way. A man provides, in most cases, you are providing a house for her. Most men, when you are driving to work, you give your wife a lift. When she's not feeling well, you take her to hospital. So she's now taking resources from you because she's hiding her income, and then she's also taking resources from you, meaning that she's going to accumulate a lot of resources faster than you.
There is no good faith whereby people of equal economic standing and resource access can function together.
We are men and they are women, and unless we don't think we don't think the same. But as a vision carrier for your family, you have to impose your will. You have to impose your will.
What if, let's say, poke holes in
you
my
must
philosophy?
Impose your will.
Poke holes in my philosophy. I'm a believer in free will. I'm a believer in, I would like to have someone who is with me, not because she does not have a way out, but if she wanted, that way I would know you're with me because you want to be with me. If you wanted to have a house, you could, but not the facade of you're with me just because you can't.
No. That's not the case. That's not what I'm saying. But look at it this way. Men provide housing. In most cases, it's men who parent.
Yeah, in most cases.
They pay school fees. They do a lot of things. They fuel the car, they do all those things. So if a woman is not surrendering her income for family use, then what she's doing is actually she's taking money from your pocket and taking it elsewhere. Literally. Yes. She's taking money from your pocket. Otherwise, then you can go the white man's way, 50-50. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So if the rent is 50K, she gives you 25. Supposing he cannot afford it. Supposing her salary is not worth that.
What about assuming that she's not working because a man's responsibility
in fact,
is to provide?
In 100% of cases, even in Europe, even in the US, even in the most liberal Sweden, surprisingly, if a woman is not working, there's stability in the family. These issues just disappear. People grow old together without any issue. Yeah. You find that a marriage has lasted 70 years. People married in 1950 and they're still together.
Because the man has more money.
More money and more money. Yeah. So it is not about how much money. It's actually your philosophy of family. Because women also contribute. But the contribution is supportive. It is not competition. That's the whole thing. Because the moment you bring dynamics of competition into a marriage, that's not a marriage.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not a marriage.
Okay.
Everything has rules. Even a church has rules. Even a police barracks has rules that you must be shaven, you must shine your boots. And if you don't do that, you cannot fit in that environment. It's the same with family.
That's the only.
That's the only way. Yeah, we are creatures of rules. We are creatures of rules.
Okay.
And a human being without rules is not a human being.
The single parent thing is becoming a pandemic based on some of the dynamics we've discussed in this submission. Can this be reversed?
I really don't know how we are going to go about this, because this has a cultural element, it has a religious element, there is political element, there is security element also. And there is even the health element. Human beings, for them to survive and thrive, one of the most basic necessities for human beings is identity. You must know who you are. You must have a sense of yourself. I'm so and so. And actually, that's what families do. They anchor you. You don't float in space like a lost soul. You have anchorage, just like a ship in the sea. So families give us anchor, they give us identity, they give us a sense of safety, and all those things that come to create a wholesome human being. Now, the concept of identity can only come from the father. And we mentioned this during our last interview, because men are the ones who produce the Y chromosome, which is the male factor. So men give identity. So me, I got my identity from my dad. Who got his from his dad? Who got his from his dad? And that chain goes all the way up to Adam, the first man. Now, what happens is that when a woman gives birth to a child out of wedlock, who does know his father? So the first thing is that he is disconnected from the line of his father. He doesn't know his clan. He doesn't know his people. So he has no identity. And if there is something dangerous in this world for a human being, is lack of identity. So number one, when you don't have identity, you cannot relate. When you don't have an identity, you even lack access to community resources, because things like land, names, they come from our fathers. We have them because we are identified with our fathers. So even the naming structure in African communities is male-based. Access to land is male-based. So when you don't have an identity, a lot of things goes. The man never got. These children don't get rooted. They don't grow roots as human beings, and that's a very dangerous thing for. So they become neurotic. They become neurosis means that lack of awareness of who I am. It disturbs them. And what has been shown by research is that over a period of time, many members, a lot of kids from female-headed households, because of this lack of identity, they tend to develop antisocial behavior. They do drugs earlier. They do drugs more than the other members of the community. Their girls get pregnant at a higher rate. Again, the cycle gets even worse. And you see, it has been proven that even girls from single mothers, they start their menses 3 years earlier than girls with fathers. So a girl who grows in the presence of a father matures more naturally than a girl. They were saying that in America, girls from without fathers are starting their menses at 11 years. But the mean for girls is 13, 14 years. So they're starting menses at 3 years earlier than girls with the fathers. And this is scientific. So it means that it is it's a very stressful lifestyle. So I'm not saying that children of single mothers cannot be successful. In fact, we have got very successful members of this. Whatever. We have got judges. We have got senior businessmen. We have bankers. We have pilots and aviators.
We have Obama.
Obama was not a child of a single father. Obama had a father.
Obama had a father. Once or twice.
What?
or who he saw once or
It doesn't
twice.
matter, but the identity is there. You can see this is my father's grave,
Yes.
and these are my father's people.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So he was not a
You're
child of a single mother is not a divorcee. A divorcee is not a single mother. A widow is not a single mother. A single mother is a woman who has gotten a child out of wedlock, or in circumstances where the identity of the father is not known,
And this
either through casual sex or whatever it is.
But this again cannot be left as a responsibility for women alone, because we can also say that men have not been trained as they used to be trained in the traditional African society. So
Women are the ones who control fertility.
Women are the ones
who control fertility. It is not possible for you to know whether a woman is fertile or not. Anytime, even your wife.
You just test.
You cannot tell. In fact, even us who are married, you just find that your wife is pregnant. You don't know when because she got pregnant. She will just tell you that I'm pregnant. Because they are not visible. Human beings don't give visible signals to show fertility or ovulation. It is hidden. Women have hidden signals. Yeah, so it is women who know when they are ovulating or when they are fertile. So it is not possible to train a man to control, not to make a woman pregnant. It is not possible. So it is women who control fertility. But what we have done, what I'm saying is that society has lowered. We have destigmatized a lot of things which were stigmatized, because a childless father for 30, 40 years, like when I was going to school, we did not even have a single child without a father. In the 70s, not a single one in my class. I believe in the whole school. Recently, I went to a high school and when the names were being called, almost 20% of the boys in a class are from carrying their mother's names. They're from single mothers. That's an epidemic. Now, what happens is that when we study countries like America and UK, where single motherhood has been there, tolerated for longer, if you go to prisons, more than 70% of the prison inmates, without exemption, are all children of single mothers. So it has a security aspect in a community. So the more we have, the more boys we have from broken families, crime will get worse, insecurity will get worse. So it's actually a security problem. And again, women are very sensitive to insecurity. Any threat of insecurity affects women more than men, because women singularly lack the capacity to defend themselves in any fight, even on the streets. So the moment you have many criminals walking around, they are a threat to women. They are more a threat to women than to men. So single motherhood, again contradictory, is itself a threat to the welfare of women.
Interesting. So pale kwa identity, again, pale kwa identity, would it, in terms of the name and the concept of having a belonging, was it such a big concept? Because I'm trying to tie it to when the Europeans come, Africans are encouraged to rebrand and use Bible names, and this again takes away from the naming system. What was going on there?
You see, colonialism also is a form of mind control. You have to be made subservient. And one way of making you subservient is to disconnect you from your past, to disconnect you from history, and to even make that history, to make you ashamed of that history. Like I was telling you, like I was reading somewhere, I think I mentioned this. A place like, a city like Benin in West Africa was a very, but the first Portuguese who landed in Benin City around 1676, they found a very developed city with street lights in Africa in 1670s. They found houses with flashing toilets in Benin City in Africa in 1776. But today, if you talk to an African would not believe that we had cities in Africa at that time, because history has been uprooted and a new history has been implanted in our minds, and we are too lazy to research. Are we together? So that insistence of giving you a foreign name was one way of cutting you off from your lineage, from your ancestors. And what happens now at the individual level is very crucial, because when you lose contact, you look at the Bible, If you read the story of Jesus, they'll tell you Jesus was the son of Joseph, the son of who? They mention all his ancestors up to David, almost 30 men. You can see how important it is to connect yourself to your lineage. If Jesus had to be connected all the way up to David, that's how critical it is. So when you have a man who does not even know his father, he does not know his paternal relatives, he does not know who he is, and maybe he has been brought up in town by his single mother in a city council house. This person is actually lost. He's lost. He's frightened. He cannot even find himself.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a crisis. It's a crisis.
For these ideas, we can give.
And actually, these people also are not able to have stable relationships because they never learned how it is to live in a stable environment. It is not possible. It's not possible for them to marry because he does not have an identity to give to somebody. So they're even afraid of committing to women.
But we have outliers in this example.
We have outliers. There is always outliers.
Let me use a bad example, or rather an interesting one, depending on who is watching, right? How someone interprets this. When you say, we track back kidogo, women with access to resources do change and they become someone else. The president of Tanzania has been given as an example of a submissive wife, but she's the president of the country. And I think based on the content I was exposed to, she's a wife in the traditional sense, right? Yeah. She's a president outside, but a wife outside. Yeah. Is this a case of an outlier?
No, it's not an outlier. Actually, that's how it's. There are women who have managed that balance. Margaret Thatcher, one of the strongest. She was the Prime Minister of England for 11 years. She led the Labour Party at a very critical period in British history. She said she has never, her husband, the first thing she did was to make her husband, Mr. Thatcher, who was a banker, but her husband has never been given breakfast by any other woman throughout their life, even when she was Prime Minister. The first thing she should do is to wake up, prepare breakfast for her husband, arrange his clothing, then go on and become Prime Minister.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And many others. We have Indira Gandhi. We have so many.
Solid example. Number two, is it okay, what do you think of the idea of some parents having children, but they don't want their children to participate in the institution of marriage? I'll explain. President Uhuru said during a burial of one of his friends that it took his friend who they were burying to talk to him for him to accept that his daughter would be married to another man, right? But we have parents who cannot surrender their children to the institution of marriage. What do you say that?
I think that I would just say that man is stupid because he is not looking after the interest of his own daughter. If you want to, what will happen to your daughter when you're not there? What will happen to her at the point she's the same age as you? Who will look after her? Or what will ground her? What will she have to live for? Because if it was all about money, we will not even have kings marrying their daughters. We will not have the sheikhs of Arab marrying their daughters. We will not have Clinton marrying his daughter. So that man is stupid. There is no other word for him.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting submission. Yeah. Now we go to the
He's not acting in the best interest of his daughter.
Okay.
That is not love, that is obsession.
We want to tie the next concept to something we have discussed in terms of we've discussed resources, we've discussed vaccination, but let's now circle back to African technology before civilization. And I think in our last conversation, when we met in a separate setting, the idea was food has been used as medicine. Yeah. Please break that down.
Food in its most basic form has two functions. It nourishes your body. That gives you power. Like what we are doing now, you are using energy from the food we took. But food is also an immunizing agent. Immunizing means it strengthens your capacity to fight off infections. So food operates on those two levels.
Yes.
Now, but okay, there are foods which are rich in this. They have more energy, and some foods are more into immunizing. Okay, because of what they contain in themselves.
Yes.
But Africans have actually used food very effectively, very effectively. And food was actually structured in such a way that young children had their own set of food because their needs are different. You want to strengthen their bodies against disease. You want them to fast growth. You want them to grow into healthy. And then, so food was structured in such a way that every segment of the population got the maximum benefit from food. Yes.
Okay.
So food is actually a medicine. Yes.
Understood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Food is medicine.
Okay.
Yeah. Even today, we still use food as medicine. You go to any hospital, they will tell you eat broccoli, eat oranges, eat whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. It's medicine.
So,
Yeah.
and then now,
But used properly. Because you can abuse something like milk, you can abuse it. You can abuse meat. You become obese. So that's too much of a good thing.
in fact, to quote Thomas Sowell, he says, and this is one of the best quotes I've interacted with in recent times, a certain amount of food can kill you, and there's a certain amount of alcohol that can save your life.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Asante. And the African perception of time. This was another concept we discussed in our previous conversation.
Yeah.
Please break it down.
First of all, we have to say what is time. What time is difficult, but time is a function of consciousness. You must be conscious to experience time. So two things must happen here. You must have consciousness, and then you must have movement. Because time cannot exist in a state. If the universe is frozen, there's no movement, then there cannot be time. So time is a function of movement. Movement means there's an event. An event means something has a beginning and an ending. That's a duration. So that is actually time. But you must have the consciousness to experience that movement. So time is actually a function of consciousness and movement or motion. It is not a dimension of its own. And this is why I find that in our known universe, we use movement. Moon is moving, the sun is moving, the earth is moving, the sun is moving around the galaxy. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, is moving as a galaxy around another. So the movement goes on and on and on and on. So the universe, for it to exist and for time to exist, there must be movement. But our concept of time is a little bit different from the Western concept of time. Although the Western concept of time has evolved somewhat in the last 200 years, especially since the invention of the clock, the watch and the clock. It has actually done something to the minds of Westerners of how they conceive time. Africans, as a rule, were dealing with time in larger durations, like seasons. Seasons, not microseconds and minutes and what have you. So, because our life as Africans is event-based, it is not clock-based. It was not time-based. What I'm saying is this. We were more concerned with the event which is taking place at any one time than the duration of that event. For example, if you went to somebody for lunch, the event of eating, that duration can go on so long as you feel it is necessary for that to go on. But
It's not capped.
it is not capped that you have to start at 12 and end at 2 and then you go and do other things. So our concept of time is a little bit more fluid, but we deal with bigger chunk, and that is more or less in harmony with human psychology and even with biology. Yes. Another thing about African time is that basically all of us Africans, of course we knew things like years and season and all that, but it was lunar-based. African time is lunar-based. Lunar means moon-based. Africans, the only place that they now use that calendar is Ethiopia. A 13-month, 28-day calendar. A 28-day month. So a year has 13 months of 28 days. 13 months of 28 days. When you multiply 28 days by 13, it gives you 364. So a lunar year has 364 days, as opposed to the solar year, which is 365 and a quarter days. So Africans always, all Africans, like I told you, it is still presently in use in Ethiopia. We are using the 13-month, 28-day calendar. Now, what is the effect of this? One, it has a very large effect, even on the psychology of women, especially. I can see you are looking at me quizzically. You see, women ovulation cycle takes 28 days. The fertility cycle, every woman, whether it's European, it is 28 days. So the lunar month, which we are using as Africans, is actually in harmony with the female physiology. Because if a woman's cycle, fertility cycle, is 28 days, and the lunar month is 28 days, she can actually track her cycle within that 1 month, and it fits within 1 lunar month. So she's actually able to know where she is at any one time.
So every woman has her own calendar, because I believe they have different dates.
No, not because it is 28 days. It is going to 28 days. So
but
if
it's not the same, this is not the
it
exact
will go into the other month, but it always starts on one day, on one date, and ends on another date. Always. If it starts on 5th of the first month and ends wherever, for as long as she is alive, it will always start on that date.
Okay.
Are you following me? It will always, yeah. But today now, when we have some months are 31 days, others are 28, it goes and it messes actually the whole arrangement of a woman's mind and her body and the calendar. So that has been a major, a major disruption. Again, when you use the lunar calendar, when you use the lunar calendar, the moon calendar, seasons don't change. But when you use the solar calendar, time drifts. Because of this, and you see, seasons obey the moon. Moon is the one that controls the seasons. It is not the sun. Even our own bodies are actually controlled by the moon, because we have a lot of water in our bodies. So we actually respond to the moon more than we respond to the sun. So you find that the seasons also don't change. January or the first month is always the first month. What has happened with this with the solar year is that because of this 1.5 days, it means that in every year we lose about 1.5 days in every year. In 10 years, you have lost 15 days. So in 20 years, you drift. Over 100 years, you find that what you are calling January is not actually January. You are now in May or June, in real sense of the word, because of that drift. So the lunar calendar, the lunar calendar is the most accurate. But Pope Gregory in 1582, I think, is the one who decreed, for whatever reasons. I don't know why. I don't know why it happened. Because formerly all countries were using the lunar calendar. It was decreed that now we go to the Gregorian calendar, which we have been using all along. Okay. So basically, that's the African concept of time, and how time plays around with the psychology and our consciousness, and even our concept of self.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now, please, if you subscribe to the concept of an open mind, please grab a copy of New Confident Africa by Mbira Rimi. Iko na brilliant and thought-provoking ideas. Na uzuri ni unasoma, una verify, unasoma, una verify. Nuria Bookstore. In fact, I'll leave a link kwa description ya hii video on how you can order, and it can be delivered anywhere in the country. It's actually a good read. Wale watu nimeonyesha leo, they've promised to get a copy for themselves, because some of them, even textbook center, and some of my friends were actually angered by what they were nini, and we had a very interesting debate about it. So as we close, I would like us to touch on two things: education and population control as we wind up. Education briefly and population control. And my submission is, I think our institutions give students a raw deal. for the most part.
Yeah.
Right? Because some of the content that I've interacted with and the people I've shared with were like, there's always this, why didn't they teach this in school? I wonder if that's deliberate. Why didn't they teach that in school? Right? Is it deliberate miseducation?
It is deliberate miseducation. You see, mind control is, when you control somebody's mind, you control that, you dominate that person. He becomes your slave because he'll now be obeying your commands. You know how to you know how to set your commands. He's actually now not a human being, but he's an object. So our education system should not even be called education. It is actually the miseducation system that we have. From the beginning, it was a colonial project because the colonial occupier wanted the people of a certain mindset. The first thing that they did was to undermine your confidence as a human being. So you have to be shaken up and given a very heavy dose of his culture so that you now doubt yourself. It is on this self-doubt that now he now builds the structure of how he wants you to be. So our education system does not produce people who are future focused. That's number one. It does not produce people who are thinkers, who ask questions. It is not supposed to produce people who ask questions, because if you ask questions, you are going to ask the colonizer questions, and he does not want to be asked those questions. So he has to make you docile. Is a program. Education system we have is a program to turn people into docile. Africans are docile creatures, to be led, to be told what to do. That's number one. So when you become docile, you don't have the capacity to investigate, to be curious like a human being. Like now, Africa is a very fertile country. It's one of the most fertile planets. We have very well distributed rainfall. We have a very huge youthful population. Why are we hungry? Why do we beg for food? These are questions that any person should be asking, any normal person. But then you find that our educated cadre are not asking that question. The people who are actually asking that question are semi-literate people. That means education system has really cut us off. It has made us unable to think and to recognize our own vested self-interests.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. If you go to the village in rural Kenya, 80% of the juakali industries is being run by people of no or little education. Why is that so? Because they have not, somebody who went to school up to 37, his capacity to think was not impaired as somebody who went up to university. So that person can actually set up a workshop. Like in my area, people who are making agricultural tools, chaff cutters, are people who dropped out of 37. I know one boy in Siaya who he actually designed and manufactured a automatic concrete block making machine. An illiterate man producing 600 blocks per hour. And a graduate from the University of Nairobi, an engineering graduate from the University of Nairobi, cannot do that. So who is educated here? Because that person has not been polluted, he's actually more intelligent. His brain is working at capacity. But a graduate of the University of Nairobi is waiting for a job, is waiting to be employed by a Mzungu.
That's interesting.
It creates dependency. Our education system creates dependency. And it is across the board. Go to Gekomba. We have people who are doing multi-billion business deals with China. Most of them never want to build Form 4. You'll not get a graduate engineer, a graduate architect, a graduate commerce graduate doing a cross-border, a big business that is he imports goods from Turkey or wherever. You get semi-literate women, semi-literate men are the ones who are importing all these goods from Turkey, from India, from China, from Vietnam. And our graduates are just loitering on the streets looking for jobs.
It's interesting.
So the minds have been what can I say? You have actually been robbed of the capacity to think. To think of yourself to love yourself. Yeah.
Okay.
So what we are calling education is not education. It is miseducation. It is dangerous form of education. Yeah.
Okay. You know, it's interesting that you said that, and I'm working in partnership with an organization called IET. They've been partners on our program since last year. The Institution of Engineering Technologies.
Yes.
Like the people who some of them have gone through the formal education system, but they also cover the so-called informal sector.
Yeah.
And I have seen the potential of how much there is in the Kenyan informal sector that people who have gone up to university are ignoring, and yet this could actually be the key to unlock the Kenyan economy in terms of cash flow, because there is a lot of talent there.
Yes. What they don't have is actually something called credit. And that's a very, the problem, there's a lot of potential in the rural areas among those Juakali sector, but they have no credit.
And I think that's where the organization comes in.
But it's if we are going to wait for organizations, it's good, okay, they are doing that.
Yes,
but it's terrible. It is so disappointing that we have to wait for an organization.
It's a society for them. It's a society for
a local one.
Yes, a local one.
Being funded locally.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Yes. Local by membership.
That's how it started. In fact, some of the biggest companies in Japan started as backroom, repair room. Sony started as a radio repair in a single room. Sony Corporation. Yes. I can get you the biography of the founder. Yeah.
Please share that. Yeah. I'll quote you on
it
that.
Started as a radio repairman, a radio repair. Zitec University started as a computer repair shop. So that's how things grow. That's how things grow.
Okay. Yeah. Umesema vitu powerful sana, and allow me to quote you on that. I'll quote you on that because that's very powerful. Kama wewe ni technologist, umefanya electrical ama you practice kitu ya skill ya mkono, make sure umefanya research yako on IETK, that is Institution of Engineering and Technologies of Kenya, and find out the structures na membership. I'm actually partnering with them to the best of my capacity to learn how much we can unlock in the Kenyan economy. Thank you very much for saying that. So, twende kwa the final thing, the final item I hoped we could cover for this one. Na in case kama wewe ni mtu unapenda knowledge, grab the New Confident Africa Textbook Center as talking it, Nuria Bookstore, our friends on the show. Nimeweka link that you can get the book directly delivered to any part of the country. Population control. And this ties to the idea of, I think, scarcity for some things is actually man-made. It's interesting, and I found this shocking, that let's use America as an example of a civilizational superpower. The population of America does not cover more than 3% of their land mass, right? It does not cover more than 3%.
It is true. It's a fact.
If I was to be generous, let's give them 4%.
It's a fact.
4%. But then again, there is the issue of, the world is overpopulated. What is the agenda here? What is this meant to
The agenda is control. The agenda is control. There are some... History is full of people who have tried over time to capture global power and enslave everybody on earth. Sometimes you have to understand that Europe has a lot of secret societies, very powerful secret societies, like the Round Tablers, the whatever, and they have their own agendas. America has the Smithsonian Institute. Some of these organizations are anti-people. They are anti-human, and they want to control. They want to capture the globe as a playground. Now, America, as you say, is the most underpopulated continent in the world. A country like a state like Wyoming or Vermont, it has a population of less than 2 million people. In fact, 15 American states have populations of less than 3 million people. 15 states. And some of these countries are larger. Some of these states are even larger than Tanzania and Kenya combined, with a population of 5 million people. Canada is bigger than the United States of America. It has only 33 million people. 33 million people. Canada.
It's bigger than the United
It's bigger than the United States of America. You can confirm, you can check that in your encyclopedia. Canada is huge.
But it has a population
33.
that is 20 million less
33
than
million.
the Kenyan
Yes.
population.
Yeah, it's like about half of Kenya's population. And it's bigger than the United States of America. So the issue of global overpopulation is a hoax. It is a hoax to frighten people so that you can be crowded into into orphanages. In fact, they want to push people into orphanages where you'll be fed and made to work for global elites. There's nothing more. There's nothing, that's basically all. Yeah, there's a plan to enslave human beings.
Okay.
Through hoaxes like global. It is not. In fact, Elon Musk is the richest person in the world now, and he's already raising concern about the threat of underpopulation on the survival of human beings. It is actually becoming an existential threat. The low population is becoming an existential threat to humanity on Earth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the world is vastly underpopulated. Earth can support a population of 70 billion. 70 billion people with the current resources.
We are just slightly over 10%.
Yeah, we are just about 10% of that.
Oh, okay. Sawa. So now we know this is a platform of people who love ideas. Please let us know. Kwa hizo ideas zote tumediscuss na Mbira Rimi, please suggest for us in the comment section other ideas that you'd like for us to invite him back to explore. Otherwise, in the meantime, check out New Confident Africa. You can get it at Textbook Center. Unaweza ipata pia kwa the Nuria Store. Ya Nuria Store pia ni direct. Tumesema we have a link in the description. Ukiclick directly, inaletwa to whichever corner of the country you are in. I think Nuria are also international. So wewe ukiclick tu link ya nini itakupeleka mpaka mali unahitaji. It gonna very thought-provoking ideas. Very neatly done chapters. I wonder how you did it. But your research skills are exceptional in terms of how you put some historical vitu zingine. There's someone I'm looking for. I met him at Nuria Store. I'm reading his book on Sabaot. Yeah. Very soon, I'm toying with an idea of doing a round table of discussing history from the perspective. So once I'm done with the book, I'll propose a round table. And nilimuona tu when I spoke to him. Okay. Tukasema, we'll definitely give you a shout for that.
We always have two histories.
Yes.
The history of the oppressed and the history of the oppressor. Even in any fight, you fight here, me and you. Your history, your narration will differ from mine. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So you have to listen to the oppressed and to the oppressor.
For you to get
exactly.
Sawa. Basi, thank you very much for making time.
I'm also very happy to be here again with you.
Asante sana.
Yeah. God bless you. Thank you so much.
You too, sir. Asante.